Until lately, I had most identified with the prodigal son. I know what it's like to have gone off into a far country and to have wasted my money and to have indulged in sin. I also know the shame and remorse associated with where that sort of lifestyle leads. I understand all too well what life is like when the party is over. And because of that, I understand the need to repent and to come back to Jesus. I understand the Father's love. What I haven't understood until recently was the position of the older brother. I didn't understand why he would be angry in the first place or why he would have stood outside refusing to come in, especially when there was a fatted calf and dancing. But I think I have a little more insight on this position now. When the prodigal son was away, the older brother tended to his father's business. He was dependable and reliable and always did the right thing. He enjoyed the approval of his father and was, in comparison to his younger brother, the good one. He enjoyed intimacy with his father. It was also very likely that this older brother felt the sting of the disrespectful tone of the prodigal prior to his departure. He would not have liked how his younger sibling regarded his father. His brazen attitude would have been offensive and hard to deal with. And now that he was gone, there was less distraction and more fellowship with his father, which he likely enjoyed. I am sure that for this older brother, life went on. It had to. There were things that needed to be done on a daily basis, and he likely didn't ponder his brother's return. But return he did. And when he did, things changed. There was now not only the presence of this younger brother in the household again, which divided the attention of his father, but there was a party thrown for him, and music and dancing. This younger brother, who had been so disrespectful and irresponsible, was now being celebrated. The older brother refused to go in and was angry. He would have to find it in himself to forgive. The father had already forgiven him and was glad to see this younger son return safe and sound. I believe that he felt it added insult to injury when this brother returned, forcing him to share space with him after all that he had done. And because the father was at peace and had forgiven, the older brother had no place for his grudge. And yet he feels a little out of place, unaccustomed to this new routine and no longer sure where he fits in. There's a hint of injustice and unfairness in his words to his father. Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment. And thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. Luke 15:29-30. By this time the older brother refuses to even refer to the prodigal as his brother. He refers to him, when addressing him to his father, as thy son. I love this story because in it we learn so much about the father. It says in verse 28 of Luke chapter 15, after the older brother refused to go into the party, that therefore came his father out and entreated him. That means his father came to where this one was and asked him to come in. He was not harsh or angry, but entreated him. Webster's definition for this word entreat is to make an earnest request or petition for something. The father did not order his older son about. He asked him to come in earnestly and gently. The father later responds to his older son's objections by telling him this: Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Luke 15:31. He is assuring him that he has a place with him and that there is intimacy as well as tender care for him. There is security in that position, as well as he says, all that I have is thine. He finishes by telling him this: It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. Luke 15:32. When a sinner repents and turns from their ways, there is great rejoicing in heaven. The bigger picture here is that this younger son was dead, but is now alive, was lost, but now is found. It is like the song Amazing Grace, which is the anthem of every person who has been saved. We were all so lost in sin and have now received God's grace. God's grace is there for the prodigal, but also for the older brother who has hurt feelings and is finding it very hard to forgive. May we heed the entreaties of our Father, who asks us to rejoice with him when a sinner turns from his ways and comes home. Ask him for help in order to forgive and to be at peace. Help us to not miss out on the Father's great celebration.